Other places I'm interested in are Todos Santos, Cabo Pulma, if that's how you pronounce it, and San Jose. Just a lot. I'm just
Baja
really...
California Sur is hot, vast, and breathtakingly beautiful. There's something about the wide open desert landscapes and the blue ocean that draws you in.
Just a lot. I'm just really thinking of how can I pack in the most.
The desert is remarkable for the life it is able to sustain, and the sea is remarkable for the life it conceals beneath the surface. And when the desert and sea meet, it's magic.
How can I pack in all of the adventures that I want to have in the few days that I have here?
In this trip, I in fact don't make it to Todos Santos or Cabo Pulmo. Instead, my trip centers on my time in Cabo San Lucas and the beaches surrounding La Paz, covered in my next video. The quickest way to get to Cabo San Lucas from the San Jose del Cabo airport is to get a taxi. It takes about 45 minutes, but taxis are pricey at plus or minus $60. Public bus is another option that is not super advertised for tourists. It's about $4 and takes about 90. It's just a short walk outside from Terminal 1 to Terminal 2. Uber doesn't really work consistently in Baja California Sur because drivers prefer getting paid directly in cash. If you choose the public bus option, speaking Spanish obviously helps. I speak some broken Spanish, and that helped me feel a little more confident in getting to where I needed to go. Tacos. I needed to go get seafood tacos. I had read that Tacos Gardenias had some of the best, and it happened to be a relatively short walk from my hotel and on the way to Playa El Medano. If I left now, I could make it to this popular city beach for the sunset and stop for tacos on my way back. Playa El Medano is surrounded by many resorts and can be considered a bit of a party beach. If you want some quiet though, there are places you can go, just a short walk down the beach. It gives you space to think.
So I've managed to get out of my San Francisco garb and make it down to La Playa El Medano. And this is the most popular beach in Cabo San Lucas. There are still a lot of people here, even as the sun has already pretty much gone down, and I've already had a little encounter with a drunk guy on the beach, so I think the festivities are going to continue to go on. Oh wow, cool. You're getting some crazy disco lights behind me. That's fun. I have no idea where those were coming from.
Going to Baja was a bit of a last-minute decision, and this affected my headspace while I was down there.
I let my mind get a little bit bogged down, and with logistics, with settling in, with fear of things not going as planned, fear of not having things planned.
I was torn between this desire to rest from my day job, see as much as I could, and to share my experiences with you all, as well as what I was able to, quote unquote, accomplish. But then again, if done right, travel is all about being in the moment, and you don't care so much about making it to a certain destination. It's more about relishing the surprises you encounter along the way. And on this trip, most of the paradise I found was on my detour. For those of you who have been to Cabo San Lucas, you know that El Arco is an iconic landmark that is typically one of the first things you'll be advised to visit on your trip. Most normal people take a boat tour or hire a water taxi to visit.
Once I drink my coffee, we'll head over to Mount Solmar.
I, on the other hand, decided to try and see El Arco from a hike to Mount Solmar, which I was told can be done but is difficult.
Not exactly sure where I'm going,
Apparently, a portion of the hike is on private land, this guy with some kind of dog kennel, and he's not overly strict about people using the passage, but so that's what I'll be doing in just a bit. And then from there we'll go down to Lover's Beach, which is around El Arco, and then
we're veering off away from the dock and closer to Mount Solmar. We're heading back to a little street, and presumably we'll be able to find the hike from over there. You see behind me, there's just a little sign on the wall there that says the hike is that way. To my left, it looks kind of a little bit daunting. So keeping on this path, I ended up at Playa El Corsario. So I'm gonna just walk along the beach for a minute, and then I may regroup and go back to that dog kennel. It's very intimidating.
As I was strolling along the beach, I ran into a great guy named Carlos, who was able to show me around a bit and give me the lowdown on Mount Solmar.
Carlos is just very knowledgeable person who is just, you know, as I was walking by, he's like, that seagull's old. And I was like, how do you know? And he just pointed out the way it walked.
He knew the owner or manager of the property, and I learned that the hike is actually only formally accessible at 8 a.m. on select days of the week.
So at this point, I'm just playing it by ear. I'm still at the playa that I was at before, and I just changed because I did actually want to go around that rock, and I also, of course, didn't want to get wet, and I haven't even looked at a map, but I'm just going to go with the flow and see what beaches are over there. It should be getting to the Land's End area, but I need to check that out. We're headed just around where those people are coming from. Look at how clear this water is, even with these waves. So I've made it to that big rock that I was headed toward, and you can just see behind me, it's like beautiful blue-green water, and yeah, so it's pretty nice. But you can see across from me, that's all Medano Beach, where we were on my first night here. I'm just going to head around this little area to see how far I can get. It doesn't take long to get your like almost private beach around here. I just like went around those rocks, barely anybody here. It's kind of cool.
You can see that after stumbling upon this first beach, it becomes trickier to get to subsequent beaches down the peninsula. In this case, I can't go around the rocks, I have to go up. Mind you, I am doing this in my bare feet.
So it's kind of cool to come across these little beaches along the peninsula. But to get to this beach in particular, it's ideal to have shoes on. I didn't bother with shoes, just went over a bunch of pointy rocks with my bare feet. So it's not fun to do, but sometimes you just need to get from A to B, and that's a little bit how I am sometimes. I think one of the things that I want to learn through my travels is, you know, just to enter a different headspace where I can slow down and not be so worried about efficiency, you know, enjoy moment to moment. So I may have reached my stopping point. We're gonna see if I can go any closer to finding the beach that so many people are attracted to. There are just some rocks over there and the waves are a little rougher, so it's not so much that I can just wade in like I've done before. I'm worried that I might get pulled under, which I love the ocean, but this camera, not so much.
So I began this hike thinking that it might be possible to reach El Arco on foot, but as I made my way toward the middle of the peninsula, closer to El Arco, the route became more and more challenging. I'm not saying it is completely impossible, but I can't say that this path is advisable. But as my progress slowed down, more and more, I also found myself enjoying where I was, enjoying the present moment. Eventually, I would meet a couple familiar with the area. They thought it would be difficult to reach El Arco on foot, but they also said it was just as nice as where I was. And as I got closer and closer to El Arco on foot, the crowds began to accumulate, and I began to feel that the couple was right, that where I had been was just as nice, and maybe even better, and I felt okay about giving up on my goal to get to El Arco on foot. Maybe there was another day to check El Arco off my list in tourist fashion, but all in all, I enjoyed my day of not reaching my destination. I did get some good advice from the couple. Cerro de la Z. They recommended this more than Mount Somar, and that's where I headed later that day, after lunch and a quick reset.
I'm really downing this bottle of water right now. It's really refreshing and just glad to have found like a little nook that I could settle in and reorient for the rest of the day.
Ooh. So I had a little bit of a reset there, and I am now back at the hotel. I'm still thinking I'm going to do another hike, El Cerro de la Z. You'll see my purified water that they gave me is quickly depleting.
So I just turned onto Miguel Hidalgo and I'm headed back to the direction of the marina, and that is where we will find, hopefully, the pathway to the observatory, or to El Cerro de la Z. El Cerro de Z is just behind me, so it's kind of the first good view I have of it. We're making progress. I'm a little out of breath. You can see from the view, we're climbing uphill. Mostly I've been on regular streets, but now we are getting to more of a dirt road situation. Given the views, they do seem to have plans to make this a luxury housing situation. So already I'm passing some, and others seem to be in the works. So we'll see how this place looks in about 10 years. So online, a few of the reviews that I read about this place is just that there were signs that were kind of unwelcoming as far as actually climbing to the top of El Cerro de la Z. But I'm finding it's quite different, at least on this route that I'm taking, which came off of Libertad. But look at this panorama so far. It's amazing. Okay guys, we've made it to the top. It is so high up here. You can see all over the peninsula. It's 360-degree views. So I was talking a lot earlier about Mount Somar. That is just a little thing in comparison to here.
So I started off my trip planning to hike Mount Somar and to see El Arco, but ultimately my visit to Cabo San Lucas is a story without an arc. But that's okay, because travel is supposed to be unpredictable and surprising. Sometimes planning can be good, but it's not good to get too attached.
Sometimes it's smart to know when to admit defeat,
because otherwise you might miss out on beautiful moments that could arise through other experiences, able to be present with them.
This is one of the beaches that I didn't see a name for. La camina estaba bien.
Experiences are like the millions of stars you can see from El Cerro de la Z, and you can't have them all. But the experiences you do have can be like constellations in the sky, arbitrary and meaningful at the same time. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see the conundrum I got myself into around La Paz, please give it a like and subscribe. Far Off the Mark is a new channel in a state of evolution, and I'd love your support.